Tax deregistration cases. 1. Obligation for a registrant to apply for deregistration. Every person or business that is already registered for VAT, referred to as a registrant, has a legal obligation to apply for tax deregistration in any of the following cases. A. When the registrant stops making taxable supplies. If the registrant ceases business operations that result in taxable supplies, they are no longer required to remain VAT registered. Taxable supplies refer to supplies of goods and services that are subject to VAT at either the standard rate, 5%, or zero rate, 0%. If the business completely stops making these supplies either due to closure, sale of the business, or a change in business model, the registrant must submit an application to the Federal Tax Authority, FTA, for deregistration. B. When taxable supplies fall below the voluntary registration threshold. The registrant must also apply for tax deregistration if the total value of their taxable supplies for the past 12 consecutive months is less than the voluntary registration threshold, currently set at AED 187,500. This means that if the business's taxable turnover shrinks to the point where it no longer meets the minimum criteria for voluntary registration, the registrant must notify the FTA and request deregistration. However, this does not apply if the registrant meets the criteria under Clause 2 of Article 17, which allows a person to remain voluntarily registered if they anticipate that their taxable supplies or expenses in the next 30 days will exceed the voluntary registration threshold. In such cases, the registrant may opt to remain voluntarily registered. 2. Authorities' right to deregister registrants, involuntary deregistration. In addition to the registrant's duty to apply for deregistration, the FTA itself has the power to proactively deregister any person or business if it determines that allowing the registrant to remain registered would pose a risk to the integrity of the VAT system, or create opportunities for fraud, abuse, or misuse of the tax system. This discretionary power gives the FTA the authority to protect the tax system by removing persons or entities that may be exploiting VAT registration inappropriately, for example, through fake invoices or fraudulent refunds. Such forced deregistration is done in accordance with conditions and controls specified in the executive regulation, ensuring that the decision is lawful, justified, and procedurally correct. 3. Deregistration does not eliminate past tax liabilities. A critical point in this article is that deregistration does not release a person from any tax obligations incurred before deregistration. Even after deregistration is approved and completed, the FTA retains full authority to audit previous tax periods, identify unpaid VAT, demand payment for any outstanding taxes, and impose administrative penalties for past violations. This means that businesses must maintain proper tax records for the legally required retention period, typically 5 years, or 15 years for real estate-related records, even if they are no longer VAT registered. 4 examples of situations requiring deregistration. Business shuts down, apply for deregistration. Switches to exempt-only supplies, apply for deregistration. Revenue below AED 187,500, apply if no future increase expected. Revenue fluctuates, no need to apply unless below threshold for 12 months. Business merges, original entity must apply for deregistration. Fraudulent VAT filings, FTA can force deregistration. 5. What happens after deregistration? Once deregistered, the business will no longer be required to charge VAT on its supplies, nor will it be eligible to recover input tax on its purchases. However, the business must still settle all outstanding VAT liabilities, submit any final VAT return covering the period up to the deregistration date, maintain all relevant VAT records and documentation for the legally required retention period, to allow the FTA to conduct post-deregistration audits if necessary. 6. Importance of timely deregistration. Failing to apply for deregistration within the time limits specified in the executive regulation can result in the FTA imposing administrative penalties. Businesses are advised to regularly review their taxable turnover to ensure they apply for deregistration at the correct time. For more details, contact us.